Welcome back to another episode of the Better Than I Found It podcast. You're listening to Mike McGraw, the men's golf coach at Baylor University, and your host today. My guest today is current Baylor golfer Brandon Hoff. Brandon is a senior on our team and is from Austin, Texas. Great guy, fun-loving, hard-working, very athletic. In fact, Brandon talks about his youth sports, growing up as a multi-sport athlete, and how that has helped him become a better golfer. Brandon talks about his teammates, certainly the things he's learned from his teammates. It's really, really a good listen. So I hope you enjoy it. Brandon Hoff, Baylor golfer. Welcome back to another episode of the Better Than I Found It podcast. My guest today is current Baylor golfer Brandon Hoff. Brandon, it's great that you joined me today. You know, with final exams now in your rearview mirror, you must be pretty relieved.
Yeah, it's great to be here and definitely on break. Not worrying about anything other than golf and family. So I'm relieved and happy to be done.
You know, you've really impressed me. When you came out of high school, you never know what kind of student a kid is going to be, but you've been a really good student. I appreciate all the work you've done. I think you've worked harder than the average kid to be a good student, so thank you for that.
No, thank you.
So you're relieved to have the finals behind you. Anybody would be. But what are your plans over the Christmas break? Will it be some family travel? What's going to happen over the Christmas break?
Yeah, over the break, it always, whenever we get the chance to meet with family, we're going to do it. This Thanksgiving, it's cool. Every 2 years, we do this huge family reunion. So we have cousins from Florida, New York, New Jersey, Oklahoma, and we all meet in one location, and this year happened to be in Hollywood, Florida. Mm-hmm. And so we rented out this entire motel as the Monterey Inn, and it was a great spot, and all 32 people there. We had a blast, and it was tons of
Did
games. And
you play golf?
No, I'll plead the fifth on that one.
Okay. All right, it was family time.
That was good. Yeah, it was good. It was high quality family time, and we'll be doing the same for New Year's. We're going up to Edmond, Oklahoma, to hang out with cousins, aunts, and uncles. I'll be meeting my girlfriend's family down in Galveston and El Paso. So, and then I'll be able to hang out with my family, doing a lot of hunting. My brother also got a dog, Buck Allen.
Dog or a dog?
A dog.
Okay.
So, he got a dog, and that's a story within itself. But yeah, so I'm excited for the break, and not only to focus on family, but focus on working out and improving my game. So
yeah, the break is such a good time for guys to make a difference in what they're doing, whether it's working on their game, playing in a tournament, or working out, gaining weight, club head speed, all of that. So it's good. But so that's going to be a good break for you. It'll be actually a good break for me. Pam and I are just going to hang out here, and we're not traveling at all, which is great. I'm not a big traveler, as you know. But speaking of family, your childhood, you grew up in New Hampshire, and that's not exactly a golf mecca. So how did you who got you started in golf? That's got to be a good story.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that it's a golf mecca up there. Ever since being in Texas, I figured Texas, Florida, and California are the three great states to grow your game and become a really good golfer, especially at the junior level. But was born in Derry, New Hampshire, and I was born there. I've never been back there since, actually. So I'm sure
they have a statue of you there. you need to go look at that statue.
Not really. I spent probably about 6 months in that state and haven't been back since.
Okay, all right.
So, we were so I was born in Derry, New Hampshire, and then we kind of moved around wherever my father's job was. So whether it was Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, we moved around a lot for that first year and a half.
You haven't moved into a golf area there yet. You're still in the Northeast.
Oh, totally. And so the real time where I start moving south is Arkansas.
Okay.
My parents build their first house, and it takes about a year. So I'm about 2.5 years old. And one thing that was great about this Arkansas house was we had this huge backyard, and there was no real snow on the ground. Unlike, New Hampshire, and everywhere in the Northeast, there was a lot of snow. So there was this huge backyard, and being the first child, not the only, because I got 2 younger brothers and I love them to death, but being the first child, you get all the toys. So you get, the football, the lacrosse stick, the Fisher-Price, plastic club set. You get everything because your parents just want you to see what you like, and whatever you're attracted to, they'll support and whatnot. And so it was cool because it was the 2001. That's when Rich Beam.
I think it was 2002.
Okay. At where was it at?
I can't remember now. But
Oak Hill.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
In Rochester.
So, yeah. And so my dad and my mom, they don't come. It's not the typical story where my father played golf in college or he was a head pro. No, my dad actually really didn't enjoy watching golf until I started playing it. But he didn't. He was napping on the couch, and he had the 2002 PGA Championship, and it's where Rich Beam and Tiger Woods were dueling it out. And so my dad was passed out asleep on the couch. My mom was somewhere else, and me, the 2.5, 3-year-old kid that I was just kind of watching on the couch, hanging out with my dad, and I would watch the golfers, Rich Beam and Tiger Woods, and I'd want to imitate that, and I'd grab my Fisher-Price club and I'd call it whacking, and I'd go whacking. So I'd go out to our big backyard, and then I'd come back in, watch the swings and try and repeat that and go out. And so my dad kind of woke up from his nap, and I was about 4 to 5 hours in of whacking. And, I had blood, bloody hands, blisters everywhere. And my dad was like, this is not really normal, but I love it, and I'm going to support it. And so that's kind of where it starts off. And he's like, you know what? This is kind of a cool moment. I'm going to buy whoever wins the 2002 PGA Championship and, see what happens. Maybe we can, maybe it just be a memory, or we can, eventually get someone to sign it. And Rich Beam ends up winning that year. And so then, fast forward to about 13 years later, I'm 16 years old, and we're members at UT Golf Club in Austin, Texas. And it so happens that Rich Beam is in the Austin area and a member at UT too. And so we were having dinner at the club one night, and we were sitting down, and we saw Rich Beam. My dad was like, hey, Brandon, I still have that hat from 2002, and it was, I got the PGA Championship at Oak Hill, and I want you to go get it. It's in my closet. And, we'll get Rich Beam to come and sign it. And so I run home. I've never run faster in my life, I think, because this is the guy who really got me into the game. And so I come back. My dad had gotten Rich Beam to walk out on the patio. And, I see him, and he's kind of in tears because my dad told the story of how he kind of got me into golf. And, next thing we know, he signed the hat, and the story comes full circle.
Did you take a photo with Rich?
Of course,
okay.
Yeah. I've got a couple. I've got Tom Kite and Rich, and those were the two. We got Justin Leonard too. You see everyone in the UT Golf Club dining room. So, yeah. But yeah, that was a really cool story, and I like it a lot. I think it's not the normal. My parents never pushed me to do anything. They always supported. As you'll see in my high school resume, I played a lot of sports, but. I think it's really unique, and it's cool. So I just gravitated to the game by myself.
That's a great story. I never knew that a New Mexico State alum would
from
El Paso would make a Baylor golfer his career.
Yeah.
But okay, so you were a multi-sport athlete though as a kid. I know you played basketball, soccer, lacrosse, and flag football because your mom didn't want you playing tackle.
Yeah. So growing up, I just wanted to play everything and anything. And if there was a ball, I wanted to get my hands on it, whether it was football, basketball, baseball. And so I played football flag because down in Texas, football, like you and I both know, is a little different animal. And the reason why they did that is because I played select basketball at a pretty high level. And I walked away, after playing 8 years of basketball with like about half a dozen concussions. Because I was always that like small gritty guy who would throw my body everywhere. My parents were like, well, that's great, but you should probably stick to golf and not football, because if you throw your body everywhere, you're just gonna hurt yourself. And so one thing that was cool is one of my best friends, Costin Pendleton. He was a huge lacrosse player. He ended up playing college lacrosse for Furman, and he's now at Clemson. And I think one thing that's really cool is he kind of introduced me to that game. And it's kind of it's a balance. It's not football where you're trying to wring each other's necks and kill each other, but it involves a lot of running and you get a stick to whack people.
Well, there is some contact though in lacrosse.
There is, and there's a balance, but it's not. There's too much contact will get you in trouble. Unlike football, they embrace that. So, I played lacrosse for only 2 years. Looking back, I wish I played it a little bit more, but I really, really enjoyed that sport. And my middle brother, Connor, I ended up playing for several years. Could have gone and played college lacrosse. He was that good. But, and it's if you haven't seen a game, it's the most exciting game to watch.
Yeah, I'll Johnny Kiefer, one of your current teammates, was a lacrosse player, and he played all the way through his senior year in high school. Totally. He would send photos of himself after games where they just beat him up. I thought, I can't believe I'm saying okay play, but so you there was contact enough.
There is, and I love that. Yeah. So it was good. So.
Well, if you hadn't been a golfer, so which one of these sports would you be playing right now in your senior year in college?
Wow.
Flag football, no. You would not be playing flag football. But
I would have not.
Basketball, soccer, or lacrosse?
Probably basketball.
Okay.
Like a small DT. Because I stopped like 8th grade freshman year.
Should I get Scott Drew to come over and give you a tryout?
I mean, I wouldn't hate it. I'd love the opportunity. So if I could be part of that team, they just... whooped up.
They've been playing well.
Everyone.
Yeah, so. They've just everybody. It's been great. All right, so we know you're an athlete. In fact, you're sort of self-proclaimed the best athlete on the team. I mean, you've said that for 4 years now.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go with it. It's fine with me. You're the only guy that wears a size large shirt on my team.
Yeah, I know. I think so.
So we do know that you're at least the biggest guy on the team. But no, that's great to hear about that. But you and I have something in common that we've had in common since before we knew each other, and that is your uncle, Craig Benjamin, who teaches golf in Oklahoma City, is also a very dear friend of mine and runs a junior golf foundation that I created about 20 years ago or 25 years ago. So Craig has been a big influence on your golf. I know he has. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I think I told you the story about Rich Beam, and that was great. My parents never really knew to bring me to an instructor or do anything like that, so I kind of just learned the game by myself. And when I was about 6, 7, 8 years old, we were down hanging out with family for Thanksgiving, and we were in Edmond, Oklahoma, and my parents were talking to Craig, and were like, "Hey, he's starting to pick it up. You really enjoy coaching and teaching it. Let's you just take him out for the day, take him on the golf course, and this place. We actually ended up going to Ball Golf.
Oh yeah,
and I'll never forget it because that's probably the hardest I had worked at golf for my entire life at that time. And so we got up at 6 a.m., went to McDonald's, and we started out on the range at Ball Golf around 8 a.m. in the morning. The sun's just coming up over, the hill. And, it was a really cool experience. He taught me all the basics, setup, posture, a lot of things that I still use today, the ball flight laws, and he just really kept it as simple as possible because, as you and me both know, this game is really intricate, and you can get lost with a lot of different techniques and swing thoughts. And so that was one thing that I'm very blessed that he did with me, is he really made the game simple and kind of just let my pure athleticism do the rest. And I think that was a really important foundation for my golf game to be built on, because I still use those same thoughts and just trying to simplify it as much as possible as I do today.
Yeah, I would compliment Craig for sure on the way he allowed you to just use your athleticism to create a very athletic golf swing. Still have one today. You haven't been over-taught, that's for sure. Mm-hmm. So you get to, your family finally moves to Austin, Texas.
They do.
And you got to play on a pretty darn good high school golf team. You guys won a couple of state championships at Vandergrift High School while you were there, and you had some future Baylor teammates on your team at Vandergrift. Cooper Dossie, his younger brother Luke. So there's got to be some stories in there with Cooper and Luke, and both at Vandergrift and here at Baylor.
Totally, yeah. So it was cool because the reason why we ended up moving, we were originally at Grey Rock, which, Stratton Nolan, he was from that area.
Oh, yeah.
And me and him were probably the only two remotely decent golfers at the time. And my parents were like, hey, if you really want to do this thing, we want to give you a golf course that's going to give you the best ability to thrive and take your game to the next level. And also, you got people at River Place. Daniel Martinez at the time was an absolute star, and we were good friends because we'd compete a lot on the junior track. And so we ended up moving to UT Golf Club in 2008. And at the time, there was not really a whole... The place was very underdeveloped. There were only like 10 homes in the entire area, and at the time Daniel Martinez was still at River Place, and Cooper Dossie was just a figment of my imagination up in Dallas. Did not even know him or any of the other Dossies like Luke and Sam. And so we started there and played at UT for about a year before the Dossies came in, and as well as Daniel Martinez, and instantly, we all became like really, really good friends, mainly because we enjoyed competing against each other. So that was kind of what grew our friendship. We just loved competing, and I can still remember, you'll have to ask Luke sometime, but he had these like nerdy, because he had terrible eyesight, but he had these like nerdy rec specs that he would play golf in, and he would look like such a goofball. But that was kind of our... we had Little Longhorns that we were part of. Corey Lundberg, who was a part of that. That was kind of like our team before being Vandergrift Vipers. And so we would go, it was me, Cooper, Daniel, Tobin Niblett, Skylar Young, Luke Dossie, Sam Dossie, and we would all whoop on, like Team River Place and Team Twin Creeks, and it was just so much fun. And we had a blast, and Corey did a good job of making it a lot of fun. And so then transitioned from that to high school. So it was my 8th grade year, we had won the national not the national championship. We will win the national.
There you go.
But the state championship, when it was at UT Golf Club, and it was when Scotty Scheffler was a senior, and we were really kind of the underdogs. No one really thought of us to be a threat, and so kind of seeing that, I was really inspired and really excited to get to high school. I got to high school, and freshman year we had a really good team, and we ended up winning state. Which there's a funny story about that. Made a little freshman error.
No, really?
Yeah. So we get there, and we're playing at Wolf Dancer. It was in perfect shape that year, and they did a really good job because they ended up hosting it for 2 more years after that. And so, 5A state, my freshman year. Cooper's junior year, and then Luke is in 8th grade, and then Sam is in 6th grade. So we all are playing, and it was a really tough day. So we get through like the front nine. You know how the front nine's kind of on the top of that hill, and then you go down the hill after like 12, 13. And so as soon as we like got down to like the base of that like huge cliff, so essentially hole 13, we there's the wind started howling at like 30 miles an hour. And so we were all playing really well, and I ended up scoring a 76, and that was really good considering all the conditions. I think if they were to take mine was the third best score, and unfortunately I had signed my scorecard incorrectly, which I feel like the Baylor Bears have a lot of history with, because I'm not the only one. I haven't done it in college yet, knock on wood.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we've had some guys, I won't call any names. But yeah, so I shot a 76 in the first round as a freshman. Third best score on the team, and we had to eat an 80 because I had signed for a 75. And so I go home that day, like I was so mad at myself. And Coach Warnicki, probably one of the best. It's a little biased, but I mean he's one of the best, if not the best, high school golf coach in Texas. And I'm really happy that he got to go to Louisville. He really deserves it. But yeah, he was so laid back and knew that getting mad at me wasn't gonna do any good. And so he's like, he kind of talked me down off a ledge. He's like, hey, I just need you ready for tomorrow. And long story short, we all play really good. I shoot 72, and didn't have a solo finish because I got, my first score was disqualified.
Right.
But yeah, so we ended up winning state as a team. And then sophomore year was really awesome because that year we knew that we were going to win state championship. And so we went and we just dominated everywhere, and we get to state, and we not only have our top five, but we have our second team, which is really cool. So you got the top five was Cooper, me, Tobin, Lucas, and Daniel. And we ended up winning and creating a UIL state record of 46 strokes, which was really, really cool. And then our second team, which is Luke Dossie, Jacob Rockefeller, Wyatt Speaks, and a couple other names that I'm forgetting, just aren't off the top of my head right now. But they came in third. Mm-hmm. And so Vandergrift really dominated, and we had so much talent. We were so deep. And that was just really cool because we not only were really dominant, but we also had fun while getting better. And I think it was really cool to see. From that year, a lot of people went on to play college golf. And so...
You mentioned Matt Warnicki. Matt is now the assistant coach at Louisville for my former assistant, Ryan Blagg, who was your assistant coach
exactly
for a couple of years. So it's kind of crazy how the world of golf coaching is so closely tied.
Totally.
Matt and I have a lot in common because I was a longtime high school coach and then became an assistant coach at the Division I level. And so I know exactly where he is and what he's going through. And I made that transition at about the same age he was when he made it.
Yeah.
So it's it shouldn't get lost on anybody. It's very difficult to end up with a high school golf coach this good.
Oh, yeah. We were so blessed. I think that's one thing that sometimes me, Cooper, Luke, and Sam will look back, and we were really spoiled. I think being a high school golf coach can mean a lot of different things. For some, it's just showing up and telling the guys what to do, or for others, I think two names that really stand out. Matt Warnicki was one; he was a blessing, and then also Henson. They really worked almost together.
You might mention Eric Henson, who was at Lake Travis at the time.
Correct, and he's now at Highland Park. And both of them, it was kind of, they understood like iron sharpens iron. They were always, even though they had teams that were fighting for a state title, they always share different ideas, what works well with the team, how do I make my guys more competitive, how do I make them practice right things. One thing that also helped is they would love to play. Oh my gosh, I would love to go out and play with him, and he was a pretty solid player. And Henson was as well, and he would play with a lot of his Lake Travis boys. But I think it was really a blessing to have not only a high school coach that cared, but cared about us getting to the next level or whatever we wanted to do with the game. And they had a lot of knowledge. So it was really, really cool. And I think I definitely really believe that it was a huge advantage, not only for our team at the high school level and why we won 2 state championships, but also to why so many people on that team went to go play college golf. So he made golf really, really fun. And, I'm really thankful for him. So
that's good. A lot of people forget on their little path going up the ladder as you're moving up through the career. I mean, there's people that have an amazing impact on that, and Matt was certainly that for you.
Awesome, yeah.
So you get to Baylor. You do have some Vandergrift High School teammates, Cooper and Luke, who would be on your team
and
here.
Sam on the way.
And Sam is coming next semester. So, but for you, what has been the biggest challenge going from that high school experience to the college experience? I mean, because there's a lot of young kids who are junior golfers actually listening to this podcast. What's the biggest difference and challenge?
I mean, Coach, we need 2 more hours to tell you everything that, all the transition and issues that, not issues, but definitely problems that I dealt with and was able to overcome. But, I think out of all... I think the transition is really hard. Going from, really family-focused, hanging out all the time with my brothers and parents, there never being a dull moment, to living by myself at U Parks, and it just being quiet. Definitely had to get used to that.
Looking back, we were recruiting other guys in 2018.
Totally,
and we didn't get them, and you ended up being the only kid. I always felt bad for you on that. I mean, just being a freshman in a room by himself and having nobody to talk to.
I think it was a blessing in disguise, because I really got to use that time to become a lot wiser, and I don't think I'd be the golfer I am today if it weren't for that. But I do believe it was a blessing in disguise, because I hated it. I hated it at first, but then I got to understand the importance of being alone and kind of reflecting and just being okay with doing my own thing, whether it was practicing or working on school. Back to the question. I think time management is, the very cliche one. I think Baylor does a really good job. With the academic coach, Tebow does a great job formulating a schedule, and I think sets up with tutors, and you're really willing and to help us out, and super lenient with what our course load looks like, what our classes look like, how that works with practice, and so you've done a really good job and been very flexible with us there. And I think the biggest, to answer your question, I'm going down a rabbit hole, but to answer your question, I think the biggest thing that I learned is that junior golf, the courses that you play are way different compared to the golf courses that you play at the collegiate level. And so it was really eye-opening, because I was able to play golf pretty aggressive at the junior level, had a lot of success, and when you miss a shot, you weren't really penalized for it. And I found out quickly that in college, if you get way too aggressive, there's certain pins, they're tucked back at these little shelves and hills, and for a reason, for you to have that junior golfer still in you say, oh yeah, like this is the same thing, I can just, attack this pin. And there's some pins that are. I'm not telling you that, you should play conservative. There's definitely balance. But I really think that the hardest transition for me was that I love to go pin seeking. And I think Coach McGraw can kind of fill in
Well, I remember at a team meeting, I was talking to you at post-tournament, just talking about the round you had played, and you were playing good enough to shoot way under par.
Yeah.
And you shot over par that day, and you said, I don't know, Coach, sometimes I go pin seeking. And I said, no, you're not seeking pins, you're seeking bad golf. That's what you're seeking when you do that. And you laughed, and I don't know if you were mad at me at the time, but
no.
But essentially, you learned a good lesson.
Oh, I learned a great lesson.
Yeah.
And so I think that's one thing is course management was never a thing that I even thought about. You know, for in junior golf, it was always hit driver and send it to the fairway. Then go aim at pin and then try and one putt. And if not, two putt. So that was my strategy. Little did I know, there's a lot more that goes into it than just that. And I think you did a great job coaching me. And I definitely was not the happiest when you said I was seeking for bad golf, because in my mind, in my freshman mind, I was like, Coach, I'm never trying to play bad golf. Why is aiming at a pin seeking for bad golf? But it was a really good motto, and it stuck in my head, and it will stick in my head to this day.
Well, and there's a balance. There's always a balance,
Totally.
regardless. But so glad you learned something there. It's always nice when a guy learns something. So over 3.5 years, you've been at 3.5. You've learned a lot, I'm sure. But what is one thing you would tell that 17-year-old Brandon Hoff, who's still at Vandergrift High School, now after 3.5 years, it's like, okay, if I could tell him one thing, what would that be to make this college experience better?
I really think that for me in high school and kind of growing up, and I think a lot of it goes back to like ball golf. We used to just beat balls for hours and hours and hours, and I love just, feeling and seeing the golf ball do whatever I wanted it to do. And so I was really mesmerized by that, and I didn't really focus on the most important things. Putting's great, and it's really important to do that. I think as far as like distance control is even more important, but I really wish that I had focused on my wedges. And when I say that, I'm not saying like chipping around the green. That's great. That comes with a lot of practice, and also you're blessed with touch and certain skills. And so I really think that I wish I worked on that, and kind of like my scoring wedges, I like to call them, anywhere from like 30 to 120 yards. So that was one of the main things that I wish I told, little 17-year-old Brandon. I think he would be a little bit more mature of a player when he got to college. But, I kind of pivoted and adjusted. And so I would tell him that. And then I'd also tell him, I always thought in high school there was just one gear with a golf club. And it was like 100%. And then if, you needed to juice a little bit more, you just swing 120%. And that was great, but I really learned the importance of hitting like me and Mick. Mick's been really good, and he kind of taught me how to kind of pull back on shots. Say we're 120 yards, I'm not going to try and juice a 55 degree, or even if the shots doesn't call for a stock 50 degree, I'll choke up on, a 9-iron or an 8-iron and hit a little punch shot or a little knockdown. And that has provided a lot of value to my game. And I kind of, I thank Mick for that, because we really worked on that. Because when I was a junior golfer and I would always try and take distance off of my clubs, I never really knew how to do it. I would always kind of just like stop rotating my body, then get really flippy with the wrist, and then next thing you know, the ball's going left and right. And so, I think that's really important. And even though it's not easy to do, it's one thing that will, pay dividends in the future when you do it at a young age.
I think a lot of kids, a good drill would be to go out and get to 140 yards or 150 yards, let's say. Normally you'd hit an 8-iron. And then try to hit to that same target with a 7-iron, and then try to do it with a 6-iron and a 5-iron. See how far down you could go.
Yeah, no, I agree.
However, just do it.
Or even when we play on the golf course.
Yep.
One thing that we do, and I like this in qualifying or just in regular on-course practice, we'll have a couple drills where we hit a drive, and wherever it is, we hit 2 golf balls, but they can't be, say I got 150 yards. I have to hit one golf ball with my 9-iron, and then I have to drop another golf ball, then create another shot with another club, whether it's, a cut 7-iron or a draw pitching wedge. So it's cool. I really enjoy and like the fact that we do that. But yeah, it just adds another element, another tool in your toolbox.
Yeah, that 17-year-old kid could have benefited a lot by starting that process. So you've had obviously had some success since you've been here. We've got one more great semester together this spring coming up for sure. Two things I want to talk about. One, you've been part of 2 Big 12 match play championship teams, which is great. But another thing that you've done that a lot of people that didn't get much notice was one of those Golf Coaches Association of America summer series events or fall series events. I think it was the very first one at Jimmy Austin.
It was.
You set a course record in Norman, Oklahoma at Jimmy Austin. I was so proud that day when you did that. Talk about that real quick before we move on.
Yeah, I think that was cool because that was the summer that they're coming right out of COVID. So they were trying to... The junior golf and amateur golf, they did a really good job trying to get as many people playing. The only problem is my freshman year, like I said, I learned a lot, but I didn't really play as much as I'd like to, and didn't really build up a big resume for these big tournaments to come and invite me. And so the GCA was a really, really cool deal, and they had events all over the United States, really competitive, and I wanted to play in one more event before I got to come back to Waco. And so it was the GCAA at Jimmy Austin. It was a 54-hole event, and I'd never been out there to that course before, and I had just loved it. I was staying with my cousins in Edmond, Oklahoma, because Norman was only about like a 40-minute to an hour drive. And so I stayed there the night before, played a practice round with them actually in the cart. It was pretty laid back. And,
who in the car?
In the cart. My cousins.
Okay, gotcha.
So, and so I got to have a really good practice round, but it was very laid back. I was feeling good about my game. And so we play, and there's also a funny story within that. My parents weren't going to come up. I was like, yeah, it's just a GCA. I'll come straight back to Waco. And, of course, then they're super supportive, and they're like, we got to come up or have at least my mom or my dad come up just in case, something happens, I win or get a course record or, something out of the ordinary. And so my dad ends up coming up. We play 36 holes that first day. I shoot 2 under, 1 over. And the 1 over was really good. Oh, my gosh. It was super hot. They didn't have any water on the golf course. It was like the Sahara Desert. I was dying of thirst, and golf was like the last thing that I was thinking of. But I thought that I had played really good in that afternoon. And then I come in sitting at about 9th place, and Quade Cummins had just shot 8 under par. 64 in the afternoon, and that was the new course record. Previously, it was held by, I think, Jordan Spieth shot 66, and then Max McGreevy shot 65, and then Quade Cummins shot 64. And so that was pretty. He had the lead by at least 6 strokes, and in the hottest part of the day when it was really tough, it was a really impressive round. And so after the round, he gets interviewed. They're like, "Hey, can we sign a scorecard?" He's like, I'll do it after tomorrow. I'm really tired. I'm just gonna go home. But yeah, I'll sign the scorecard and put my record scorecard up in the clubhouse with my picture. But right now, I'm just really tired. I don't want to go home. And so that next day, I kind of wake up and I was driving from Edmond with my dad to Norman, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go. And I almost swore there, and I didn't. So,
okay.
But I'm gonna go
play well.
Play well. Yeah, I'm gonna go play well, and I'm gonna kick this golf course in the butt. And so I did exactly that. Par of the first hole, par of the first hole, bogey the second hole, and then from there I make 10 birdies in the next 16 holes.
I've got video of the final putt on last hole.
So I was 8 under, going into hole 18, which is a par 5. And I kind of had known that there was something on the line because that 18th green, you have the clubhouse about 100 yards up and to the left, and there were like people just like coming down from the clubhouse. Next thing you know, there were probably about like 30 to 50 people around the green. I was like, well, someone must have died or something's important. And so I hit a great drive in the right side of the fairway, and I lay up and hit a wedge to about 18 feet. And then, I'll never forget it. Like, it's a half a ball out to the right. I hit it exactly. The hole was looking like a basketball hoop that day. It was, half a ball out to the right. And it didn't break as much as I thought the first 6 feet of the putt. But then it started breaking in, and it went in around 5 o'clock. And it was perfect. So it was cool. Not only to get the course record, there's so many things cool about it. It was cool to get, to shoot 63. It's a great round of golf. It's cool to get the course record. It's even cooler that it's at Jimmy Austin, OU's home golf course, where they have to look at my scorecard and picture in the clubhouse every day. And I wrote, Brandon Hoff, Sikkim Bears.
Of course you did. Of course.
And then also that Quade Cummins didn't even hold the course record for 24 hours. So
he didn't have time to sign that scorecard, did he?
He never ended up signing. He never, got any of his pictures posted up in the clubhouse. So, yeah, it was a really, really cool round. I got my cousins from Edmond, Oklahoma to come watch me. And I'll give crap. One of my, best friends from high school goes to OU, Connor Whitehurst. And I told him, like, hey, dude, you need to come out this morning. Like, I'm feeling really good. And he's like, oh, man, I got some, like, fraternity stuff. I can't come out. So he missed a...
He didn't show up for that?
No, he did not.
Well,
so,
to me, if it's all the same to you, I'd like for you to shoot more of those this spring.
I'm
okay?
cool with that, yeah.
Okay, let's do that this spring.
Let's
okay. All right, so that's a good memory and one that you'll cherish forever, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I hope that record lasts a long, long time.
I do too.
What is the best thing you've learned from a teammate, non-golf? So we've got all these good teammates around you. We teach each other, there's no doubt, in college golf. But what's something you've learned that's not a golf lesson from a teammate?
I think one thing that I realized freshman year is when you have a team, there's so many different people. There's so many different characteristics, and everyone kind of plays a different role on the team. And my freshman year, what I was trying to do is I went with the intention of, okay, like I'm really immature. I got a lot to learn. Colin Cober does this great. Garrett May does this great, but he doesn't do this great. Okay, well, what Garrett doesn't strive at, Cooper does a fabulous job. And so I kind of just pick little pieces from every little teammate and kind of learn from them what to do to kind of essentially create like this Terminator of a golfer, like kind of Iron Man of a golfer, so to speak. And so it's been like that every year, even though, some guys have graduated and new guys come in. But I think the one thing that's really important is that I've learned from a lot of teammates, one in particular, I won't name any names, but I really think that embracing the process, I think he's one of the hardest working guys I've ever seen. And there's another guy actually that I'll mention, but he's one of the hardest working guys, and it's really... he's very inspirational just to kind of watch and go through, and even though he doesn't play the best golf at times, he still goes through his process, always working his butt off, and when he's playing good and hitting it really good, then he's doing the same thing. And so he really values that, and he's just really great communicator, and he's really, really mature beyond his years. So also there's another guy who is probably the most competitive guy I've ever met. And I think that he definitely makes me a better golfer, because if you aren't competitive, then what are you doing in the first place? And it's funny because he's a really good golfer, and I think that competitiveness helps him, and he does it in everything. I mean, we could be cooking. We were making gingerbread houses against our girlfriends, and me and him were trying to beat our girlfriends in which gingerbread house looked the best, but it's everything. It's like who can get to the golf course the safest but the quickest, who can eat the fastest, who can play the best golf. So he does it everywhere, and he's really competitive, not only in golf but in life, and I think that's really, really important. So I love his competitiveness. So
all right, we're going to do a couple things here to finish up.
Totally.
The last thing we're going to do is a speed round, which I haven't prepared you for. So you're going to have your business degree in business marketing.
Yes, sir.
In May.
I am.
And you're also considering working on your master's next year and starting taking advantage of the 5th year,
Totally.
COVID year. You haven't committed to that yet, but you're thinking about it. So I want to commend you for getting your degree in 4 years.
Thank you.
And just the fact that you might want to come back for a little more would be great. So before we do the speed round, give me your best piece of advice, one piece of advice that if you told a 14-year-old, he's going to benefit in this dream of becoming a college player and then a professional.
Yeah.
What's your best piece of advice?
Gosh.
That's a hard one.
I think a lot of people fall in the trap of wanting everyone, like you're playing against everyone, and that's not essentially the case. I think you're playing against people when you're competing in a tournament, but also you can learn so much more. And if you focus on the right things, as far as like picking up wisdom, course management, and all those things, I really think that you can develop and become a really good golfer, because everyone puts in the work, coach. Everyone is willing to spend the hours in the range, and everyone's willing to, beat balls and, practice on different techniques and, spend the resources, money and time. But it's really what kind of like you take away from that. And I really think that learning and obtaining like knowledge from not only yourself but your peers can really make you a better player.
Great. Good advice. Okay, you ready for the speed round?
I'm ready as I'll ever be.
All right, some of these questions I've asked in I haven't had the speed round in quite several podcasts, so I'm bringing it back.
Okay,
with
cool.
you.
Well, I haven't listened to one in a while. So.
Okay, well, you need to start listening. Maybe you'll listen to yours. All right, here we go. Shawshank Redemption or Remember the Titans?
Remember the Titans.
Good work. Your go-to meal at a tournament, is it Chick-fil-A or Chipotle?
Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
Favorite non-chain restaurant ever? Anywhere you've ever eaten, favorite non-chain restaurant?
I think it has to be a hole-in-the-wall back home, Los Pinos. LP is
it
what
must
we
be
call
a
it.
Mexican.
Yeah, Mexican is my, it's got my heart. So.
Okay, perfect. Favorite pro sports team ever?
Ooh, New England Patriots. I'll get some heat for that one, but the boy from Derry, New Hampshire.
Okay, that makes sense.
He's got it, yeah. So it was really cool. And Tom Brady's the GOAT.
So then your favorite athlete would be?
Tom Brady.
Yeah. Okay, I figured it was. He doesn't look he looks like he's 30 years old.
Oh, he's unbelievable.
I wonder when he's going to age. Maybe never. All-time favorite sports moment you've watched in person or on TV? Just a sports moment that's like, this is the best.
This won't be a quick. Well, I'll make it as quick as possible. But being at Baylor, we've seen so much success with football, golf, basketball, both women's and men's, track. I think just kind of being at Baylor, I think that's the best one, because I've gotten to see so many great sports and have had so many sports memories that I've shared with my teammates, my friends, and so I think that's really cool. Also, I'll put in, it was cool to see the Patriots come back in the Super Bowl against the Atlanta Falcons.
Okay.
The 28-3 game. That was unreal.
I like the first part of your answer a lot, because we have had sort of unprecedented success for a small private school in the middle of Texas.
Amen
it's
to
pretty
that.
amazing. Okay, George Strait or Luke Bryan? Careful before you answer.
George Strait, any
you.
day of the week, Coach. Come on.
I think that's good. I saw him in concert in Las Vegas at the Coaches Convention. Unbelievable. Okay, favorite course you've played in college that you've actually competed on?
Wow. I think all of them are really good in their own way. Probably the one up in Minnesota.
Okay.
The greens were so good.
Yeah, the greens were flawless that year. They were perfect.
It was really fun.
That was right early in your career, too. I think it was.
That was my sophomore year.
Yeah, there you go. Course you'd most like to play but never have in the world.
I don't want to give the cliche answer.
Go ahead and give it.
National, like that's so boring. That's not. I'm not boring, Coach.
No, Court, you're not boring.
No, I think Bethpage Black. I think that'd be cool going up north.
Yep. Tournament you'd most like to win.
In college.
No,
PGA?
tournament in the world. Just a tournament.
Well, it's a trick question. Every tournament.
Okay, well, there you go. That's all I need to hear right there. Favorite Coach McGraw quirk? Because we know there's a few.
There are a few. And there's so many.
Well, just throw one out there.
I'll just say this. I've had enough. I've had enough.
I've had enough.
Yeah, I've had that one. That one's pretty good.
Very good.
That was my freshman year. I was like, whoa, this is crazy.
Okay. All right, your final question. Your dream foursome. You and three others. Who would they be? They could be alive or dead.
Yeah, I think me and my dream foursome. I think I really wish I ended up playing more golf with my Mimi. That would have been really cool. Love to play golf with my dad, even though he hates golfing.
Gotcha.
He loves watching me. He doesn't love watching golf, and he doesn't really enjoy playing. But he enjoys watching me. And then
one other.
Let's go with. I really think playing with Arnold Palmer. That'd be really, really cool. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
He had a lot to share and a lot of wisdom, so it would have been cool to kind of.
Heck of a foursome. Arnold Palmer loved the game more than anybody ever could, and your dad, who doesn't love the game
I
at
know.
all.
Hopefully Arnold Palmer could maybe sprinkle some of that love into
inspire
him.
him. Yeah. Well, Brandon, thank you so much for spending time today.
Totally. Thank you for having me.
Excited for your last semester at Baylor.
Yeah.
We're going to have a great semester, and I want you to have a great Christmas break. Enjoy.
Yes, sir. You too.
All right. Thanks.
Thanks.